They know every syllable of every word, which is what I came here to do. You start a song, they finish it. I start the next one, they finish it. I can do that all night.
Garth Brooks. He came at me like a predator. Susan Smith's courtroom testimony in Mississippi shattered the image of the country king. With a life sentence, Garth, the man who surpassed Elvis Presley with millions of records sold, now finds himself at the center of outrage and disappointment, leaving fans in shock at the harsh truth. From mesmerizing concert nights to facing cold iron bars, what happened to turn a superstar into a convict? Is this justice or a terrible mistake? Stay tuned as we uncover the mystery behind Garth Brooks's unexpected downfall. Troy G. Brooks, known to the world as Garth Brooks, was born on February 7, 1962, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a place where vast fields and endless blue skies seemed to nurture the soul of an artist. As a child, Garth wasn't the typical dreamer with a guitar in hand and country tunes in his heart. Instead, he was a star athlete, a promising sportsman with exceptional strength and agility. His athletic talents earned him a prestigious scholarship at Oklahoma State University, where he spent his youth sprinting across tracks and throwing perfect passes on the football field. But deep within him, a fire for music burned, an inheritance from his mother, who had left her mark on the Ozark Jubilee stage. Although he graduated with a degree in advertising in 1984, Garth soon realized that life couldn't just be about victories on the field or dry marketing campaigns. In 1985, with a suitcase full of hopes and a handful of self-written songs, Garth decided to leave Oklahoma for Nashville, Tennessee, the heart of country music, where dreams were sung and legends were made. The journey was anything but easy. In his early days in Nashville, he faced countless slammed doors, cold rejections, and even doubts within himself. But Garth refused to give up. With his warm voice and a unique style blending traditional country with modern pop influences, he gradually won over audiences. His debut album, Garth Brooks, released in 1989, was a fresh breeze in the music scene. The singles, Much Too Young and If Tomorrow Never Comes, quickly climbed the charts, bringing his name closer to the public. But it was No Fences in 1990 that became his golden milestone, holding the #1 spot on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart. One spot on the country album charts for 23 weeks and selling 17 million copies, a number that left the world in awe. Garth Brooks wasn't just a singer, he was a phenomenon. His concerts were no longer simple country music nights with banjos and fiddles, but grand, dazzling spectacles filled with fireworks, stage effects, and rock concert energy. With a wireless microphone, he moved across the stage, immersed himself in the crowd, and brought new life to a genre often considered conservative. His success transcended America, with 150 million albums sold worldwide, surpassing even the legendary Elvis Presley, making Garth the best-selling solo artist in U.S. history. He didn't just change country music, he redefined how the world perceived it. His soaring career brought him not only fame and fortune, but also a new chapter in his personal life. In 1986, as his music career was beginning to take off, Garth married Sandy Mahal, a simple girl from Oklahoma who had stood by him through the tough days in Nashville. Their marriage became a symbol of stability amid the whirlwind of stardom pulling him in all directions. Together, they welcomed 3 daughters, Taylor, August, and Allie, tiny joys that constantly reminded Garth of the true meaning of family, even amidst long tours. With Sandy, he built a warm home, a place where he could step away from the stage lights and just be a husband and father. But the glimmer of fame doesn't always bring complete happiness. As Garth's career skyrocketed, rumors of cracks in his marriage began to spread. Whispers of infidelity became the breaking point, one that neither he nor Sandy could mend. In 2001, after 15 years together, Garth and Sandy officially divorced, leaving him with lingering regrets and unanswered questions about the price of fame. After that incident, Garth temporarily stepped away from the stage, dedicating his time to his children and rediscovering himself. But fate didn't seem to want him to live a quiet life. In 2005, Garth found new light in Trisha Yearwood, a talented country singer with a sweet voice and a warm heart. They weren't just colleagues who had sung together in heartfelt hits. They were soulmates who understood the pressures of the music industry. Their wedding took place in an intimate setting at Garth's ranch in Oklahoma, marking the beginning of a strong partnership in both music and life. Trisha wasn't just his wife, she became the inspiration for Garth's return to music after years away. Together, they formed a power couple in country music, frequently appearing in joint concerts where their love blended with melodies, touching the hearts of millions. The combination of Garth's talent and Trisha's grace elevated them both, turning them into symbols of balance between career and love. With Trisha by his side, Garth seemed to regain the peace he once lost, and his life entered a new, more radiant chapter. However, Garth Brooks' seemingly perfect life with Trisha Yearwood and his dazzling career suddenly came under a dark cloud in 2025 when an unexpected legal storm struck. Susan Smith, a makeup artist who had been close to the Brooks family since 1999, stepped into the spotlight with a shocking lawsuit in Mississippi. She accused Garth, once a symbol of warmth and talent, of turning her life into a nightmare. Susan was no stranger to the Brooks family. She had worked with Trisha Yearwood for 2 decades, enhancing the singer's beauty for countless performances before expanding her work to Garth himself in 2017. But behind what seemed like a professional relationship, Susan revealed a completely different story, one of power abuse, manipulation, and wounds that never healed. According to Susan, everything changed in 2019 when she fell into financial hardship after a series of personal struggles. Garth, with his friendly demeanor and captivating voice that had enchanted millions, appeared to see an opportunity in her desperation. Susan recounted that during a visit to Garth's luxurious home in Nashville, he suddenly emerged from the bathroom completely naked, his eyes glimmering with an intent she would never forget. She remembered the moment he took her hand, placed it on his body, and whispered that he had dreamed of this for a long time, asking her to perform an act she described as disgusting. Panicked and ashamed, Susan refused, but financial pressure forced her to stay silent, growing more fearful over time. The nightmare didn't end there. A few months later, during a trip to Los Angeles to prepare for the Grammy Awards, Susan claimed Garth put her in an even more horrifying situation. When she arrived at the hotel, she discovered that he had only booked one suite with a single bedroom, leaving her with no private space. That night, according to Susan, Garth appeared naked before her again, flaunting his body and acting like an unapologetic predator. She accused him of assaulting her, forcing her to endure acts she never wanted, only for him to demand that she do his makeup the next morning as if nothing had happened, preparing him to walk the Grammy red carpet with his signature perfect smile. Susan said his cold indifference made her feel like nothing more than an object to be used and discarded. But what shocked the public even more was Susan's claim that Garth didn't stop at these actions. She alleged that he continually harassed her through messages and emails, sending inappropriate texts and explicit images she never wanted. The most disturbing revelation, she said, was that Garth had once suggested a disturbing idea. He wanted her to join a 3-way relationship with him and Trisha Yearwood, the wife he always praised in public. Susan stated that when she rejected the proposal, he merely laughed, treating it as if it were a harmless joke. Her sense of helplessness grew as he continued contacting her, even after she attempted to cut ties. Susan Smith's lawsuit against Garth Brooks wasn't just a series of accusations. It was backed by a collection of evidence that sent shockwaves through the music world. When she took the stand in Mississippi, Susan presented disturbing messages she claimed were from Garth, filled with sexual innuendos and unacceptable requests. She also unveiled emails he had sent from multiple accounts, some under fake names, as if he had deliberately created a secret network to reach her. The most damning evidence, however, was a set of recorded phone calls between them. In one recording, Garth's deep, familiar voice admitted that something did happen between them, though he didn't go into details. Another recording captured Susan's trembling voice, confronting him about telling Trisha Yearwood the truth, to which Garth coldly responded with an apology, as if it were just an attempt to smooth things over. These pieces of evidence, while not outright confessions, painted a dark picture of the man millions had once admired. Not only did Susan speak up, several unexpected witnesses emerged, further deepening the suspicions surrounding Garth Brooks. Andy Chen, a production assistant who had worked on Garth's major concerts, took the witness stand with a serious expression. He recounted an incident after a stadium show when he saw Garth place his hand too intimately on Susan's back, whispering something that made her visibly recoil. "I couldn't hear what he said, but Susan's expression said it all. She looked like she wanted to run away," Andy stated. Another witness, Lisa Olson, who had worked as a server at a VIP event following a Garth concert in 2018, also shared her story. She recalled a moment when Garth deliberately touched her as she bent down to place a tray of drinks, accompanied by a smile she described as arrogant and mocking. These testimonies not only reinforced Susan's allegations, but also suggested that Garth's behavior might not have been an isolated incident. Faced with the mounting evidence and testimonies, Susan Smith stood firm. "I'm not here for his money," she said, her voice trembling yet resolute. "I just want him to be held accountable, and for others who have endured what I have to know that they are not alone." However, Garth Brooks fought back aggressively, calling the lawsuit a blatant extortion scheme meant to tarnish his reputation. With a determined gaze, he declared to the press that he was innocent, accusing Susan of exploiting public sympathy to bring him down. The legal battle had now evolved beyond a question of right and wrong. It had become a showdown between two opposing narratives, one seeking justice and the other insisting on wrongful accusation. The trial in Mississippi was not just a legal fight, but a dramatic spectacle where the once glorious image of Garth Brooks was being stripped away under the harsh scrutiny of truth. Susan Smith stood before the jury, her voice at times choked with emotion but unwavering as she detailed the harrowing experiences she had endured. From the nights Garth allegedly overpowered her in luxurious hotel rooms to the relentless, harassing messages he sent, even as she tried to escape. The evidence she presented, recordings of Garth's voice laced with a mixture of sweetness and menace, suggestive emails, and the testimonies of Andy Chen and Lisa Olson, acted like sharp knives piercing through the defense Garth had built. Every word Susan spoke, every piece of evidence, pieced together a picture of a man once idolized, now exposed as a remorseless abuser of power. But Garth Brooks was not one to accept his fate easily. Taking the defendant's stand, he locked eyes with the jury with the confidence of a star who had captivated millions. "I am innocent," he declared, his voice firm. "This is nothing more than a dirty conspiracy to destroy me, to take away everything I've built my whole life." He insisted that the recordings had been manipulated, the messages misconstrued, and that Susan was merely an opportunist exploiting his fame for personal gain. His legal team quickly mobilized, arguing that there were significant flaws in the trial, from the way the evidence was collected to the selection of witnesses. They promised to appeal to a higher court, vowing to overturn the verdict and restore the country music legend's honor. Facing the press, Garth maintained a proud smile, as if believing that the stage's spotlight would once again save him. However, the allegations against Garth had now spiraled beyond his control. After days of deliberation, the jury could not ignore the consistency of Susan's story, the raw pain in her voice, and, most crucially, the recordings that even Garth's lawyers struggled to refute. When the verdict was read, life imprisonment, the courtroom fell into a stunned silence. A collective gasp rippled through the chamber as whispers filled the air. Susan bowed her head, tears streaming down her face as if finally releasing years of burden. Garth, in contrast, sat frozen, his eyes betraying shock and helplessness. The sentence was not only a punishment for the crimes he was convicted of, but also a declaration that no one, not even a legend, was above justice. Despite plans for an appeal and the continued division among his fans, the shadow of this verdict had permanently tainted Garth Brooks's once illustrious legacy. The life sentence handed down to Garth Brooks did more than just close a dark chapter in his life. It delivered a devastating blow to his once glorious career. From being a country music icon with millions of albums sold, packed concert arenas, and the title of the best-selling solo artist in U.S. history, Garth was now the center of an unerasable scandal. His name, once synonymous with chart-topping hits like If Tomorrow Never Comes and electrifying stage performances, was now forever linked to sexual assault accusations and abuse of power. His future now hung in uncertainty, caught between the dimming spotlight of the stage and the cold walls of a Mississippi prison. Grand comeback plans, unfinished musical projects, everything seemed to vanish, leaving behind a void no one had anticipated in the hearts of his fans and the music industry. The public, once fiercely loyal to Garth, was now deeply divided. One side stood with Susan Smith, viewing her as a symbol of courage, a woman who dared to challenge a legend to seek justice. They called for major reforms in the entertainment industry, demanding a safer and more transparent environment for backstage workers, from makeup artists like Susan to lighting technicians and event staff. Social movements began to rise, advocating for industry-wide accountability. On the other side, a significant number of fans, along with Garth's family, refused to accept the verdict. Trisha Yearwood, her eyes red with tears but her voice firm, publicly declared that her husband was wrongly accused, the victim of a meticulously planned setup. Garth's daughters also spoke out, calling their father the best man they've ever known. Their unwavering loyalty fueled intense debates across social media, where the hashtags number Justice for Susan and number Free Garth Brooks clashed in a relentless battle of opinions. Regardless of the outcome of Garth's appeal, this lawsuit has transcended a personal story to become a wake-up call for the entertainment industry. It raises a troubling question. How many other stars are hiding similar secrets behind the stage lights? The case of Garth Brooks has not only shaken the image of one individual, but has also forced society to reevaluate how we handle allegations of abuse of power. It has sparked widespread discussions about the responsibility of celebrities, the right of victims to speak up, and the necessity of a safe working environment. Whether Garth regains his freedom or not, his legacy has been forever altered, and the music industry may never be the same again. The story of Garth Brooks, from a promising athlete to a country music legend, then falling into disgrace with a life sentence, leaves readers and listeners with profound lessons. First and foremost, it reminds us that fame and talent, no matter how dazzling, cannot shield a person from the consequences of their wrongful actions. Garth Brooks once stood at the pinnacle of success, captivating millions with his warm voice and groundbreaking performances. But the very abuse of power he was accused of ultimately led to his downfall. The lesson here is that power, if not accompanied by responsibility and ethics, can become a weapon of self-destruction. Success is not a free pass to wrongdoing. It is an invitation to live up to the expectations of others. Secondly, this story highlights the importance of listening to and believing victims. Susan Smith, an ordinary backstage worker, had to overcome fear, shame, and financial pressure to speak out against an icon like Garth. Her journey demonstrates that truth, no matter how deeply buried under fame and power, can come to light with enough courage and support. However, the public's division, between those who believe Susan and those who defend Garth, also serves as a warning that society still struggles to determine right from wrong when the accused is a beloved celebrity. This underscores the need for a fair justice system, where evidence and truth take precedence over emotions and reputation. Finally, Garth Brooks' case serves as a stark reminder for the entertainment industry and society at large about the issue of power abuse. It reveals that behind the dazzling stage lights, silent workers like Susan may be enduring injustices that go unnoticed. The takeaway here is the necessity of establishing protective mechanisms and safe spaces where everyone, regardless of position or status, can work without fear of being violated. This case also encourages a broader conversation about the responsibility of celebrities, not just in crafting their public image, but in how they treat those around them. Whether Garth Brooks is truly guilty or not, his story is a reflection of the darker sides of fame. It teaches us that a person's worth is not measured by the number of albums sold or the size of their audience, but by how they use their position, whether to spread good or to inflict harm. Ultimately, justice is not just a courtroom verdict, it is the voice of conscience within each of us.